Hey guys, what's going on? It's 101R Smith, and I am back yet again. But we're gonna do something a little bit different. Remember back in one of my updates, probably back around the fall, I said for 2019 that I wanted to do something video game related. I said I wanted to do a series, maybe do playthroughs or reviews. Been trying to work it out for the last couple months, and I think I figured out the concept of what I want to pull off here. I'm calling it 1 week later. So what does 1 week later entail? Well, to be honest, and I'm going to be brutally honest here, I will probably never be able to get a review copy of a game. I'm not that popular, I'm not that in demand, and my language and vernacular will probably never allow me to be ad friendly. So let's just be real with that. So we're going to go with that. You know, when you sit down and really think about it, yeah, a game is really cool and there's a whole bunch of hype surrounding it before the release and during the release, but what is it like to have a game for a week? Are you still playing it? Was the money well spent, or is it just still collecting dust in your pile of crappy games that you'll never touch again? Is there the same amount, if not more excitement, still lasts as it was when you picked up the game? After playing a game for a week, how do you feel, and how does it represent the hype? And how does it feel as a player? Are you still playing it? Are you still on it? And has it satisfied you with your purchase? So that's what I'm gonna do. And of course, if you can't hint at what I'm doing or what my first review is gonna be based on the content of my channel, that you will know that the first ever review of 101R Smith Presents 1 week later is Devil May Cry 5. Bought the game the day before. I've played it for over a week now. And I think I've come up with a pretty knowledgeable consensus of how I felt about the game in comparison to the others and how I feel. So let's see, from at least from my perspective, and I hope you guys enjoy this, what it's like to play Devil May Cry and what's the review of Devil May Cry 1 week later. Let's get to it. Ah yes, Devil May Cry 5, a game that I have been painfully anticipating since June of last year. When the Devil May Cry 5 trailer came out at E3, I was so excited. I was a little perplexed at first due to the new appearance of Nero reminding me too much of that god-awful reboot, but we don't have to talk about that anymore, thank God. But however, the gameplay looked very promising, and the inclusion of the Resident Evil or the RE engine being used for Devil May Cry 5, you could definitely tell from the outset that it was having much higher production quality than Devil May Cry has ever seen before. And now, 9 months later, tons of anticipation and a few nosy leaks later, here we are a week later after release, and how do I feel about Devil May Cry 5? That's what we're going to get into, and I'm going to warn you right now, spoilers, I'm going to be talking about the story, and I will note on the description box on the below where the past if you don't want to hear about the story, but I will be talking about it. Devil May Cry 5 is a character action game based on hack and slash combat. The main point of the series is to pull off badass moves and make you feel like a badass. In this iteration of the series, you will be playing as 3 characters. You will get the face of the franchise himself, Dante, the lead character going forward, Nero, and you'll be getting a new and mysterious character in the form of V. First, let's start off with Nero. Nero is very similar gameplay-wise to his Devil May Cry 4 counterpart. He plays just like he does before. He has his Red Queen, and he has his Blue Rose, his hand pistol. However, the most noticeable feature that comes in his gameplay package is his double arm. In story, his arm is mysteriously removed by a cloaked figure early on in a flashback scene in Mission 2. What this entails is that he no longer has the Buster Arm, which made him famous in Devil May Cry 4. His Buster Arm in 4 definitely made him a bit different than he was in Dante, and it was honestly his one most distinguishing figure gameplay-wise. Now you'll be getting Devil Breakers in replacement of the Devil Buster. How this works is you get a combination of 8 arms, or 12 if you bought the deluxe edition. Each arm serves a different purpose. For example, Overturn gives you an electronic pass, which allows you to just block and parry a lot of enemy attacks. Gerbera allows you to jump past enemies and allows you to allow a huge electronic blast. Ragtime allows you to stop time and allows you to take a little bit of time and approach to how you attack your enemies. And personally, my favorite one is the Buster Arm, which is the one that Nico, the new character in the game, creates to replace Nero's Buster Arm. And it works functionally the same way. You can still snatch and bring enemies towards you like you could in Devil May Cry 4 and the DMC reboot. And if you were worried about combination, Daryl does have a few brand new combinations at his disposal, so don't worry about being stuck feeling you're playing Devil May Cry 4 all over again. As a character, Nero definitely has evolved from his Devil May Cry 4 past. He's a lot more mellow, he's not as quick to anger as before. Honestly, he's a lot more charming, and he isn't as pushy and aggressive as he was in Devil May Cry 4. His redesign, I have gotten used to. Like I stated before, I was a little hesitant to back on it because it reminded me too much of Dante from Devil May Cry Reboot. But it works for Nero, and it definitely helps distinguish the fact that he is different from Dante, and he is a certain blood relation to Sparta. Dante comes back in this game, and honestly, he's the best version of himself that I've ever seen in Devil May Cry. Just like in Devil May Cry 4, you can switch his styles on the fly using the D-pad. Trickster, Swordmaster, Royal Guard, and Gunslinger. If you were hoping for Doppelganger or Quicksilver, those are not there. And Dark Slayer is no longer a part of his arsenal as well. However, the 4 styles that you get are very helpful and help you traverse through the game so much easier. It gives you a multitude of possibilities to attack an enemy. It seems like this game is probably the most personal you'll see of Dante, and it's him embracing the power of Sparta in order to stop the new threat. My favorite part of the new set of moves that he has is in his Sin Devil Trigger. Now, if you remember in Devil May Cry 2, he had a Devil Trigger called Desperate Devil Trigger, or his Majin form. That form was used when you were low on health, but in that game you were able to transform into a giant monster when you were low on health to dish out a heaping dose of damage in order to kill your enemy as a last-ditch effort. Sin Devil Trigger is a evolution of that gameplay mechanic. What you can do after a certain point in Mission 12 and going forward, hold on the L1 button when you fill up the Sin Double Trigger gauge with your double trigger bars and turn into this monster which throws out a substantial amount of damage and can wreck up anyone's day. Also, Dante has a huge arsenal of different swords and different double arms, which makes him the most versatile he's ever been. Obviously, you'll get a return of Rebellion, but you also get access to Sparta and Devil Arm based on himself, which is the personification of everything that he is. As well, you'll be getting some gauntlets called Balrog, which is explained in the Devil May Cry 5 before the Nightmare novel. You'll be getting King Cerberus, which is an evolution of the original Cerberus from Devil May Cry 3. And you'll be getting something I find very unique, such as the Cavalier, which is a demonic motorcycle that can turn into chainsaws. That is so awesome! And then you'll be getting the much more unique but still awesome Mr. Frost, which allows you to access your red orbs in order to dish out damage, but if you get hit, you will be losing those orbs. If you can use Dr. Frost to his full ability, you can stack up red orbs quickly, which you will have to be using in order to purchase a lot of the abilities that these characters have. Now we have the Mysterious V, and he definitely is personally the standout of the 3 characters in terms of gameplay. V is as human as you can get. He doesn't have a lot of endurance in comparison to Dante or Nero. He has 3 familials, Griffith, Shadow, and Nightmare, which are callbacks to Devil May Cry 1. Griffith is your gun attack, Shadow is your melee, and Nightmare is your Devil Trigger. What you need to do in order to play as V is you need to avoid damage and use these familials in order to attack your enemies. You need to avoid attacks so you can avoid damage and keep your style ranking up. And when you attack them, you need to be able to hand out the additional finishing blow. As it's stated in game that the familials cannot kill demons themselves, V has to be the one to kill them. However, they can take damage, the familials, and be stuck in a stalemate, which you need to be close to them in order to revive. However, to boost their attacks, you can press R2 to read V's poetry book, which is filled with William Blake quotes. In order to give them autonomy, you can hold down L2 and the corresponding button to the familial, which will, for a limited time, give them the ability to attack on their own without you constantly giving them commands. On a story base, Devil May Cry 5 is probably the most fleshed out story that I've played in the Devil May Cry games. You start off with Nero, as he's the main character, being ripped out of his arm and trying to battle this demon called Urizen, which is one of the most powerful enemies the Devil May Cry crew has ever faced before. He is even more powerful than Mundus, and you need to be able to take him down. Cool Easter egg, if you can manage to take him down in the first level, in the prologue, you could end the game right there, but you're not supposed to. But you can probably after your first playthrough. Obviously that fails, and even Dante is defeated, which means Nero and V must retreat and figure out a better strategy. As well, Nero needs to become stronger in order to take down Urizen, as it's assumed that Dante is defeated and nowhere to be found. As you play through the game, you'll be reunited with Lady and Trish. Unfortunately, a lot of fans will be disappointed in that Lady and Trish don't have much to do in this game. Unfortunately, they do play the role of damsels in distress, and Nero and Dante respectively have to save them in each one of their boss fights throughout their corresponding levels. Also, some fans might not be too thrilled with some of the more risque shots in the game, but as of now, some of those scenes have been censored somewhat, so it's debatable how you feel about that. If you're a Lady and Trish fan like myself, you'll be somewhat disappointed. However, I can forgive that, as this story is not about Lady or Trish, it is about Dante, Virgil, and the descendants of Sparta. As you go on in the game, you start off as Nero, then you switch off as V and get the chance to play his new style of gameplay. And by mission 10, you get reunited with Dante. And then you traverse the game fighting demons and getting back into the tree to fight Urizen, which you realize after defeating the game and playing through it, it's Virgil. Oh wow, it's Virgil. Come on, let's be honest, who didn't see that coming? As you play through the game, you get 21 levels of great gameplay, and there's a new system called the Cameo System. The Cameo System allows you on certain levels to pick which of the 3 main characters you can play as. On one level, Nero and V can traverse off different sections in the game, and you can pick either or. How the Cameo System works is that it allows someone who's playing online or is connected to the game online to join in during that certain section of the game. They can watch you play, and if they feel that you're playing to the level of a Devil May Cry game and playing stylishly, they can reward you with a gold orb. I don't think you'll ever interact with each other based on my experience in the game, but it's kind of a neat feature that I hope probably in a later DLC will be expanded on. It would be really cool if there was a section of the game where 2 players can fight one boss at one time. Fortunately, that doesn't happen much in game, but it's a nice little feature. There's also microtransactions in Devil May Cry 5, which could be off-putting to some people. However, the microtransactions aren't as invasive as, say, an EA game. The red orbs are your main cash flow in this game. You don't have no more Proud Souls, you don't need to buy Vitality Stars anymore. You're going to be using the red orbs to be buying abilities, skill sets, blue orbs, or in the new function of Devil May Cry 5, what you can do is once you're defeated by a boss or just in-game enemy, you're given a choice. You can either use a gold orb to revive you, or you can use your red orbs to revive you to a certain amount. However, the cost to revive you will be risen every time you're defeated. Once you're out of orbs, you can either use a gold orb, or you'll be asked to go into the PlayStation or Microsoft store to buy more red orbs. Some people, again, might be off-put by microtransactions, but these are some of the least invasive that I've seen in this generation of gaming. The story, I feel, is very strong and probably the most personal, and just the high production quality thanks to the RE engine bring a lot more life into the game that wasn't there before. Don't get me wrong, up until now, I honestly thought Devil May Cry 3 was the greatest Devil May Cry game that there is, but I think 5 has dethroned it. I just feel 5 has such powerful story about Dante, Nero, V, and Virgil. And it just brings about and brings a lot of closure to some of the more long unanswered questions within the franchise. And honestly, I'm just fucking happy that now, after almost 20 years, Dante and Virgil can finally get along and find peace among themselves. This ending was so beautiful, and it just brought me to a tear, and just the amount of action and flow that this game has just brought me a ton of happiness. And I really hope that this isn't truly the end, and that the franchise can continue with this level of production and care that was put into it. Honestly, the only thing left to say is Devil May Cry is back and in full force.
Score for Dante. I'm up one.
Where did you learn to count? We're even.
You know, I'm starting to think this is never gonna end.
Maybe. We got plenty of time.
Don't you dare say it, jackpot!
And that was 1 week later, Devil May Cry. I hope you guys enjoyed this series. It's something new that I'm trying to work out to. If you enjoyed it, please give me a like or a comment about criticism, or just how you felt, what you think might need to be improved, what you like, what you don't like, and also comment on what other games would you like to look at this year. You know, if I was to continue 1 week later, I was thinking of maybe doing Days Gone, Death Stranding if it comes out in 2019. Any game that you would want me to look at or you feel interested in. I won't just go for the popular titles. I might go for a couple of niche titles as well. Just give me a comment, and if you want me to experience the game and what it feels like a week later, just let me know and I'll do 1 week later on that. Anyways, this is 101 Smith, and I will see you later. Peace.